Hey guys, Kevin Gage back with another cryptocurrency update. Wanted to get a quick update to you guys on this Sunday morning. So again, none of this is financial advice, always do your own research. And if you have not checked out that video I did 2 or 3 days ago titled "What More Proof Do You Need?", highly recommend doing so after this video. So we're going to talk a little bit about Task Group today. Again, these groups specifically remind me of Temenos with providing banking software to like 3,000 plus clients. We know with the T24 stack specifically with the help of Deloitte, and on the accounting side again, Deloitte, one of the big four, helped again integrate Ripple and XRP specifically there. We can talk about the CGI gateway. I think you guys realize how evident this is, whether it's 8 years or 5 years of development with proof of concepts on the XRP ledger. So right here, Task Group, you can literally type in like Task Group and Ripple, and this should be one of the first documents to pop up from 2015. We've seen this obviously kind of compare. We know that Task Group specifically is choosing Ripple as one of their main partners, again, for this type of software rollout. And as you can see, Task Group empowering your business, supporting all networks, all protocols, all transactions. Really sounds similar to kind of Ripple's approach with Interledger and all of these other groups winning on a level playing field. Adopting all seems like the perfect private company to team up with the public sector. All right, that was so corny. Managing multiple communication standards, leading payments and financial markets, innovation worldwide. So, real-time cross-border funds, settlement for financial service businesses. Again, XRP is not reconciliation, clearing. Perhaps Ripple can work with this whole suite of obviously improving interoperability and speed, but XRP is for settlement, all right? Not just, not reconciliation per se. So you guys can kind of compare and contrast again, 2+ days to settle rather than 5 seconds. Fees virtually free to use. I mean, we're talking fractions of an XRP. Liquidity, you guys can kind of go through all this straight through processing. Again, I think we kind of can see the similarities in where this is all going. And now we can even see, talking about the real-time trends, again, with the UK, United Kingdom, and FPS, how is Ripple included and integrated with them? Check out Volante and Volpay. Volante is one of the technology providers for the clearinghouse real-time payment system. Like, I have a hard time of finding where we can essentially connect Ripple to a group. And now this is a huge statement, and I want you guys to consider this big time. So Task Network Gateway, the heart of the European Target 2 and T2S real-time gross settlement systems from the very start. So again, the heart of the gateway integrated with RippleNet. Makes you wonder, all right? And keep in mind, I mean, this group alone, even Michael Zischek, which I refer often to, again, with that order book, showing, what was it, like virtually $50 million on the order books when it was downloaded, as an example, is transacted over this T2S system every 30 seconds, give or take. That's a lot of not only volume, but high value payments. And I think you guys understand how order books work and how that not even hypothetically would push up price. It simply would push up price, specifically looking at existing order books today for XRP. All right. So talking about Task Group, now I want to kind of go into this really quick. So Matthew Liny. So MasterCard and Visa, again, MasterCard, think R3, Visa, we can think Earthport and RippleNet partner, are building alternatives to SWIFT. So is the European Union, and all will be XRP enabled if the user decides to implement. Again, not a guarantee, but just showing the dots. So I do like this acronym PEPSI. So the Pan-European Payment System Initiative will process card payments in addition to making fund transfers and mobile payments without using MasterCard's or Visa's network. It's set to rely on the EU's Target Instant Payments Settlement. Again, tips, guys, enabling real-time fund transfers to handle payments. We already talked about tips, talked about, I just wanted to bring it up again. All right, MasterCard and Visa may be challenged by a new European payment system. We've heard this vernacular. Well, guess what group is kind of at the heart of this talk now? Not necessarily HSBC like we say, and BIS, IMF, Asian Investment Infrastructure Bank, but again, Deutsche Bank, which we talk about on this channel to pay attention to always. All right, right here, even Bank XRP, long time researcher in this community, guys, has provided so much. I mean, even just going back to some of his old stuff, it's always shedding light. EBA Clearing is a provider of pan-European payment infrastructure wholly owned by shareholders that consist of major European banks. Well, we can look at some of the major European banks, and funny enough, they were some of the biggest investors in Ripple, the company. So now as we scroll down here, I think I wasn't missing anything. And again, EBA Clearing, huge group, guys. I think they have the logo with like the pyramid and the eye on top of it. Pay attention to them. Now, even King Solomon, back from August of last year, talking about Task Group and tying it in. So I'm going to click this thread. I mean, look how, much research and hard work he's done, guys. Great YouTube channel. Check it out. Again, I'm not going to get into all of this, the nitty gritty here, but just pay attention. Again, multiple cross-border payments initiatives, specifically with tasks within the landscape of interbank networks connectivity series. Guys, that is specifically XRP interbank transfers. So we can obviously kind of talk about, PSD2. We've seen all of this consolidation project. And right here, Task Network Gateway 3.0 is your best choice if you are seriously rethinking your development roadmap to acquire new clients in new volumes with no technological constraints. And again, mentioning EBA right here, remarkably accepts SEPA. I just pronounce it SEPA, SEPA, flows also over EBIX. And again, we've talked about EBIX. Who were the two groups that team up? Was it TAS and then also Colt? Who are the providers? I did a video on this in like 2018, I think. But again, the protocol on the internet, which is ever more preferred by the French-German banking industry. Well, funny enough, now we can talk about, Bank of France. They've specifically said in documents dating back February 2020 that they've already looked at doing some type of, coin or issuing assets on top of not only the Ethereum blockchain, but the XRP ledger. The capability is there. All right. And the testing is there by central banks, not just a typical small payment provider. All right. Next, Matthew LINY, just showing another RippleNet partner and some developments. We did talk about IBM, I believe. And again, even King Solomon was talking about IBM connections with Hedera Hashgraph. And I think that project will be successful, but it's super, super early, highly complex to me, at least with, Hashgraph overall. And I do think that XRP is ahead, at least in terms of developments. Now, both could be wildly successful in their own right, but I just wanted to kind of point that out, give you my 2 cents for what it's worth. So Ripple partnered Tech Mahindra to launch blockchain-based contracts and rights management platform. Again, step in the right direction. Right here, James Rule XRP on Twitter, Bureau of Consumer Financial Protection remittance transfers under the Electronic Fund Transfer Act, Regulation E. I know you guys have seen this a lot right on the Federal Register site. But again, this final rule is effective July 2020. So again, we can go right there to the federalregister.gov site, Control F, XRP, and just kind of see that it's mentioned here again by this group. So the continued growth and expanding partnership of virtual currency companies such as Ripple, which offer both a payments messaging platform to support cross-border money transfers, as well as a virtual currency XRP, which can be used to affect settlements of those transfers. Interesting. All right, so we'll see if, anything happens on the 21st of July. I'm not expecting anything, but you never know with this market. The second that we don't expect something would happen or some piece of news would come. Next up, just a little fun fact before we continue with information. So Matthew LINY is showing Volvo investing in a Hyperledger project. So this is called, I believe it's pronounced Circular, is a Hyperledger project. Again, guys, with smart cars, we're seeing all of this with IoT being a huge thing. And again, Internet of Value will also integrate with all of this. We've already seen kind of the streaming of payments, whether you're using RFID trackers or even phones with NFC near field communication, simply a growing trend that I think that we will see, adoption on a large scale. And we'll even talk about how a lot of the unbanked populations, whether it's Africa, Latin America, they're all getting mobile phones, and some might not even have a physical bank account. So really interesting. And again, mobile wallet providers are paying attention to this trend. Trends are your friends. So they're paying attention to this and looking to capitalize on it. Volvo Cars Tech Fund invests in blockchain technology firm Circular. Volvo Cars have made an investment in blockchain firm, blah, 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 venture capital investment arm. Right here, Hyperledger. So January 2019, how Circular is using Hyperledger Fabric blockchain. Now, keep in mind, Ripple created Interledger Protocol. They teamed up with Hyperledger and even Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation to obviously spread this out. And Hyperledger has many, many projects. It's not just Fabric. Just wanted to point out that it is connected. I've seen a lot of documents with, again, Hyperledger mentioning, of course, XRP, but also Ethereum. Now, Ethereum, obviously, I say this in every video, I hope it can successfully migrate to proof of stake if they feel that's the best, form of consensus. There's so many ERC20 tokens in this ecosystem. I find it highly unlikely that, Ethereum would ever fail. I'm personally very bullish. I believe that Ethereum, it's currently at like, what, $230? Let me see. Price. All right. So at time of recording this video, it's $239. And I think it's Ethereum's going to go to $350 with ease again. I mean, even during that bull run, all-time high was like 1,400, and just based off some TA, you can see it easily going to $350. Now, don't just go buy Ethereum because I said that. Obviously, XRP has been due to hit 28 cents, 34 cents for months now. We'll simply see, but I do think that the bull run is here, as I voice in every single opinion. All right, so Hyperledger, obviously a huge group. Ethereum's been listed all over their documents. I think that due to so much building and accumulation, even by groups like JP Morgan, I think Ethereum is here to stay. And that is just my opinion. So on circular.com, you can see Volvo right there and Hyperledger, even some other groups like Boeing, Oracle, you name it. All right. And Benz. Cool. All right. And then even makes me think of what's that one group? Mobi with, Tesla, Ripple, all those investments. Something to consider. All right. Right here, guys. I know we talked about this a lot, but we are ever closer approaching to this with Project Spunta. Now, this has nothing to do with settlements or XRP, but it is a stepping stone. So we know R3 is huge. We've heard all these conspiracies about Ripple acquiring R3. I don't really care if they do or not. I just know that R3 is already integrated with Swift GPI and utilizing Corda potentially in the future for international settlement. And cool thing is, Corda has named XRP, as we know. So the Italian Banking Association to use Spunta's blockchain system. Again, we've talked with, SIA, these huge groups, guys. They have Ripple listed on their documents under the application, platform, and infrastructure layer. So I do think Ripple has a great chance of being involved. So, which runs on R3's Corda. Spunta enhances processes around settlement, but deals between banks, more so interbank reconciliation, clearing, finding out who owes who. And again, blockchain and DLT can disintermediate that and speed up this process. So we knew it was going live fully 100%, I believe, or at least the next round by end of September. But now, even in this quote, in this article, guys, right on Cointelegraph, it was actually saying by October 1st, the old process and rules will be dismissed and canceled. So that is interesting, something to keep an eye on. And I wholeheartedly believe that this will have some big rippling effects. Right here again, XRP Crypto Wolf. So Ripple's ODL partner, Bitso, keep in mind, Coinbase and Ripple have invested in Bitso. Now we know that, Coinbase and Ripple, Coinbase and Exchange didn't want to list XRP for a while. Obviously has in January had nearly $8 billion worth of Bitcoin, 970,000 Bitcoin. They've vested interest and obviously would love XRP to appreciate. But you realize that they invest in a lot of the same companies, just such as Securitize. So, it's kind of a gray area of who's competing or not, because I think that they are helping each other and they do have vested interest in the companies that they're supporting. So they obviously want this whole ecosystem to go digital sooner than later, lowering this barrier to entry for not only retail investors, but businesses to build true applications of utility on top of it. The goal is financial inclusion. If you are not using blockchain and DLT to allow everyday people to utilize this to level the playing field in every single sense of the word, I think that DLT will be a massive failure. I think the benefits of DLT far outweigh just mere operational efficiency, and I really hope that to be the case. So, which is one of the biggest crypto exchanges in Latin America. We know that they're utilizing XRP in Mexico, and now the news is they've topped Mexico and Argentina's crypto market in just 6 months after it launched, and it also hit 1 million users prior to its upcoming launch in Brazil. Something to keep in mind, and I feel like it was around here. So we have, again, Santiago Alvarado, Director of Cross-Border Payments at Bitso, discuss these latest developments again at a panel with Ripple's Director of Product, Craig DeWitt. I believe we mentioned him last video as well. In this gentleman. And let's see, so Bitso's been around and operating since 2014, largest trading platform in Latin America. We can see that they're rolling out service in Argentina with the Argentine peso, the peso of Argentina rather than the Mexican peso. And obviously Latin America is on the development roadmap for growth and utility in the on-demand liquidity markets. And this is what I was kind of referencing. I believe they mention it, again, connecting cross-border payments, freelancers. Right here, here's some stats. So Alvarado actually suggested that the overall fast pace of crypto adoption in Latin America is a result of the increasing development of distribution infrastructure and a rapid growth of smartphone ownership in Latin America. Roughly 50% or 60% of the population have bank accounts, all right? But almost 80% have smartphones. So we're talking an additional, again, 30-20% more have smartphones than bank accounts, as I've already noted or said. And again, these mobile wallets, these mobile payment providers, they take note of this. And guess what? Banks are doing so as well. So we need to obviously bridge these networks a little better. I think ILP could play a role in the future for the unbanked populations. And Alvarado said, outlining mobile phones as major factors enabling a huge innovation in terms of delivering financial services. We can see, guys, obviously volumes growing as reported. Bitso is an early partner of Ripple, firm behind the fourth biggest crypto, XRP. In October 2019, major U.S. crypto exchange Coinbase and Ripple invested an undisclosed amount in Bitso to help it expand into Argentina and Brazil. So now we have Brazil at play. And again, I believe they mentioned it up here as well. Remember, obviously, RippleNet is now cloud enabled. We're working with many, Brazilian partners as well. And Visa and MasterCard were trying to get a slice of the pie with everything in the Brazilian corridor. It's highly illiquid. There's tons of opportunity to improve the liquidity there. It's a moneymaker for many, and there's untapped populations. So we will simply see you guys. But again, keep an eye on Brazil, one of the BRICS nations, as always, clearly one of the groups with Russia, India, China, South Africa, straying away from the US dollar denomination. Something to consider. And again, guys, I put out that quote. I forgot the guy's name. I can look it up. But he was just saying, the US dollar is not going anywhere, but there will be, or it just won't be the primary medium of exchange for international transaction in the future. And that is 100% the case. We've gone over why it won't be a stable coin. It won't be Tether. It won't even be like, USDC per se. We're talking about the primary means of a level playing field, trust, essential liquidity, on a true open permissionless basis. I think you guys understand what I'm getting at. And again, refer back to the International Monetary Fund, Bank of International Settlements. Look at what China has going on. There's a lot of narratives at play. And again, you guys decide for yourselves. So now I want to kind of go over a few points, read a few quotes I really liked, shared by Marcus Treacher of Ripple. Background, obviously, years of experience with not only Swift, but even HSBC, another RippleNet partner, another huge group that I said to keep an eye on and see what they're working on with China as well. They've sent, whether it was, via XRP testing, but also even IOUs over DLT. We're talking like $250, million? Maybe it was billion, but again, these are just IOUs. All right, so they've been experimenting with DLT for quite some time. So right here, Marcus Treacher, SVP Customer Success. I really like listening to him. Talks to BeQuant about how the organization copied, I guess it's coped, it's just a little typo, the challenges presented by COVID, what it will take to install mass adoption of digital assets, and what the future holds for Ripple. So I'm just going to kind of speed through a few points. This might be very helpful for newcomers. If not, don't worry about it. All right, so the primary use case for RippleNet is low value. As I've said, guys, remember core to high value, high volume. So this is low value, high volume payments, a mere stepping stone. We're focused on remittances, and they have to do low value before doing high value anyways to bridge and develop the proper depth of, liquidity in the order books. We're focused on remittances because that's where the highest friction is. Again, solving the, most inefficient problem first. Today, the average cost of sending a $200 payment is $14. Unbelievable. It's unacceptable that those who have the least pay the most. The existing plumbing, and again, I love this type of analogy, the plumbing of global payments was built in 1970s. Now remember, we had, Jay Clayton, SEC chairman, it was the end of year last year, saying the plumbing for payments infrastructure is already here. Then we have Christopher Giancarlo, an advisor for Ripple, the former chairman of the CFTC. And again, what does he say? He says that they're teaming up. They need to team up with the public and private sector, and they need to adopt, private technology that is inclusive. Reminds me of protocols such as Interledger, or even, again, ledgers like the XRP ledger, where you can send and tokenize any asset on top of it. It doesn't always have to utilize XRP. You can send Bitcoin over the XRP ledger faster than you can send Bitcoin at a fraction of the cost. What are banks and institutions going to choose? It comes down to cold hard math, not tribalism. So, and again, trust as well, and control and transparency. So to serve the big corporations and banks, today's payments are completely different, and hundreds of millions of people have been left out of the global economy, again, not inclusive, because of antiquated technology, 40 years old. We will work with alternative remittance players like Bcash in Bangladesh, who have bought digital wallets to 36 million people, many of whom were unbanked and underbanked before. Again, these private companies, guys, these fintechs are innovating, not just Ripple, but many others. They're lighting a fire under these tier one banks to make a decision. So could be very, very There could be a lot of friction and, battles beforehand, but I think it's necessary. So, chaos brings order. In a world where remittances are a key lifeline for so many communities and economies around the world, we should be able to service these needs with speed and affordability. All right, next quote right here. Blockchain technology holds promise. What do you think is a good use case for in the current economic climate? So blockchain and digital assets, again, think just XRP, can play a key role in resolving issues with the existing system, or think CBDCs for that matter in the digital dollar project with Christopher Giancarlo, as we mentioned. In turn, driving financial inclusion in a few days. This is vital in today's current climate. They can make remittance payments more transparent and much faster, as all transactions can be tracked, and financial institutions do not have to maneuver multiple correspondent banks within the payment value chain. Exactly. No more 2 to 6 days with a 6% error rate and heavy fees. You can just send over the XRP ledger, and again, on an open, permissionless basis, you guys can create your own privacy with whatever technology or amendments you guys do with the destination tags, or even the check amendments going live. There's just so many updates, and you can just push it up, and it's right there. We have Microsoft running a validator on the XRP ledger, you name it. So this empowers non-bank payment providers to offer low-cost remittance services to more customers in the markets that need it most. And again, guys, it's not just going to be some new technology they make by end of year and then they just flip the switch and it's there. It's going to be a protocol and network that has been tested on for a good decade or so. Banks are by nature extremely conservative. Well, guess what's been around for a good 8 years? The XRP ledger. And again, you can trace back its investments and beginnings to even that type of digital payment protocol with Ryan Fugger in 2004. That's well before Bitcoin. Just some things that, kind of get your thoughts going, I suppose. All right, now right here. So, century-old existence. So right here. As traditional tech and finance players enter the digital currency arena, such as Facebook, again, think Libra, think Fidelity with their listing of Fidelity digital assets, think Amazon. By the way, XRP Ripple's already integrated technically with Amazon Pay, thanks to groups like WorldPay and their connections as well with FIS. And we've talked about that. Again, I Am Legion has a great Coil blog showing all of the connections. And again, it doesn't mean it for fact, but I think those that speculate correctly in this asset class will obviously walk away the happiest. So, and JP Morgan, JPM Coin, again, Facebook, nothing but a fancy database using IOUs, not even blockchain in my opinion, with Libra, complete joke, just, wanting a slice of the pie and control. And, I mean, I still think they have a good chance of doing so, even though it's really just a white paper. They could absolutely implement, and if they're offering Facebook users to, use a free $100 of Libra by signing up, and you're going to get $100 for free, I'm pretty sure people are going to sell out and do so. People say they value their privacy, but their actions on social media show otherwise. JPM Coin, again, intra-network banking. They can have their own private permission basis. Again, this was even named at the World Economic Forum on the documents. And then XRP was listed as an interbank example rather than intra-bank. All right, think of internet and intranet. So we can see an inflated demand for more through regulation. This expansion of the digital asset market is acting as the catalyst for governments and regulatory bodies to begin thinking properly about cryptocurrency as all assets that need a space in common law. I'd hope so. It feels like it's been 84 years. So we've also seen other regulatory bodies like ISO, again, working to create a single common language for all financial communications. Then we hear drama about it getting, delayed, etc. And then Ripple, obviously, with their acceptance into the standards body, is the first blockchain company, payments company using blockchain tech. And again, they're the only one focused on blockchain and DLT. Things that make you go, And again, Ripple, I mean, it's no surprise they've been in pictures and have had meetings with the IMF and Bank of International Settlements and the World Bank. And whether it has to do with XRP or it's just a mere consultant-like role for DLT, I think it speaks levels. Granted, they are also one of the highest valued companies coming out of Silicon Valley ever. So we can start shaping what the future of payments can look like, as it's estimated that 87% of global financial transactions will be supported by ISO 20022 by 2023. All right, I'll believe it when I see it, guys. All right, and then last but not least, so right here, and again, this is all Marcus Treacher for the most part. If we look at the partnership between Ripple and Banco Santander, one of the largest commercial banks in Spain, again, backed by Ripple, their whole application runs on Ripple now. For instance, together we launched OnePayFX, a blockchain-powered mobile application that solves the problem of slow and opaque international payments. The application completely overhauled the inconvenience process previously in place, where a customer would have to visit a branch, fill in the forms, wait days for the recipient to receive money. That's, laughable and archaic now. Now, the bank uses RippleNet to offer same-day international payments with an easy mobile experience. Keep an eye on, of course, their other application, Pago, a lot more open. So if fintechs and banks were to build this kind of continued mutually beneficial relationships, more services could be elevated to modern standards of customer service, speed, as we continue to pull legacy banking systems out of their comfort zone and into the modern era of banking. And again, guys, as you can see, what's next for Ripple? Constant expansion, laser focused on growing the network. Think of not only Moore's Law, but Moore's Law of connectivity, Metcalfe's Law. Very powerful, not just with obviously processing power. So from the number of customers who join the network to the corridors in which they operate, there's going to be exponential growth. And yes, it starts slow, but I always like using the analogy of a snowball. We're also focused on expanding our on-demand liquidity service, which uses XRP as a bridge currency between two fiat currencies. This is the first time that digital assets are being used in production for an enterprise use case. We have established ODL corridors into Mexico with the Mexican peso, Philippines with the Philippine peso, Australia with, just AUD, Australian dollar, Europe, all throughout Europe for that matter, and they are expanding. And then notice that the same offices where R3 reside, there's virtually the same amount of offices in the same locations that Ripple has. Just connecting dots might not mean a thing. You guys decide for yourselves. So again, they're hoping to expand further in APAC, that's Asian Pacific, and then EMEA, this is Europe, Middle East, and Africa this year. Time will tell, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. Be sure to like it. Let me know your thoughts down below and what you want to see next. And until next time.